And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. For today's podcast episode, I have my good friend Alex with me from A-Town Reviews. Say
Hello.
hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I had a blast with you last time when we were on when you were on the show and everything. I figured what better way to do this than to do some '80s movies, especially with martial arts. And of course, this is our best of the best movie review, or like Charlie wants to put it, as the worst of the worst. But it's definitely not worst of the worst, at least in my opinion. There might be some stuff that we might actually talk about where certain things have to be tightened up on or whatever, but it was still an enjoyable movie. I know this was your first time seeing it. What did you think about it?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, It's definitely not the worst of the worst. There could be some tidying up in the acting, the directing, the writing, even some of the martial arts. But it does have that '80s energy that you just always enjoy. You can't help but enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to
Exactly.
talking more about it.
Me too. As a matter of fact, this movie came out in 1989. It had a budget of $5 million and made $1.7 million in the United States and over the global box office. This movie only clocks in at 97 minutes. So if you guys are wondering about the runtime and everything, it's plenty of. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes, which is perfect for a 1980s film. But the plot centers around this guy named Alexander Grady, who's a widower and a father from Portland, Oregon, and he is chosen to represent the United States of America in a national martial arts tournament against Team Korea. Once a rising star in the martial arts world, he suffered a shoulder injury that forced him into retirement. Also chosen the team are Tommy Lee, a highly skilled martial arts instructor from Fresno, California, Travis Berkeley, an extremely brash fighter with a short fuse from Miami, Florida, Virgil Killer, which is my favorite character aside from Alexander, a devoted Buddhist from Providence, Rhode Island, and Sonny Grasso, a streetwise fighter from Detroit, Michigan. Despite being coached by veteran trainer Frank Kozo, their chances of winning are virtually non existent as the Koreans train all year long, enjoy lucrative financial support from their nation, and have on at least an occasion killed a competitor in the ring. To win, they will need to be the best, technically, physically, and mentally. And that is the plot line in case if you guys didn't know what Best of the Best is about. So, starting out of the cuff, this scene makes me laugh. We talked about it a little bit before the show started and everything, where we're introduced into Alex, and he's pushing his son on a bike. And basically, what winds up happening is this: everybody has that father son moment where they're so proud of their son for riding a bike, for teaching their son how to ride a bike, and they're actually doing everything right. Well, martial arts might be the best thing for Alex because of the fact that when it comes to him pushing his son on the bike, and the son is like, Dad, I'm doing it. He goes, yes, son, you're doing it. And then all of a sudden you see tears flowing through his eyes. And then his son looks like he's in panic mode because he's
Oh,
he's shaking he's shaking the whole time, and he's like, Dad. I'm like, Alex, are you sure you want to compete in the competition?
I was like, oh my God, please fall. Please fall. I want as soon as I started seeing this, I'm like, yes, he's gonna fall.
I'm thinking to myself, he's gonna fall. Something's gonna wind up happening him later on in the movie. And I'm thinking to myself, Alex, I would not trust your son to be by himself on a bike just yet. He's over there shaking, hyperventilating on the bike as he's being pushed without any training wheels, for crying out loud. And then all of a sudden it breaks into his mother after he gets the acceptance letter, and he's like, he goes, look, I got accepted. And the mother goes, well, what about your son? He's like, what about my son?
What about my son? I was like,
This
you
is
have
all
to
I
raise
know.
him.
But yeah, he's like, this is all I know. This is all I am as a fighter. That's all I know what I am. He goes, well, what about your shoulder? It's holding together.
It'll be all right.
It's fine. He goes,
What about your relationship with your son? Will that be all right too?
He goes, "What about my son?"
What about him? Apparently, I I did like it. It was that was so weird because during the bike scene, he got so emotional seeing his son ride by his. I was like, oh, he really loves his
His
son.
son.
And then for him to turn around the next scene and go, what about my son? I was like, wait, don't you love him? What do you mean, what about him? Maybe change that up a bit, like, oh, yeah, of course I'll talk to my son. But that was weird.
Right,
Okay.
because I had the first intentions like you did. Oh, hold on. Hey, Brandy, how are you? But yeah, I had the first intentions though. This character really loves his son. He loves his son so much. He's pushing him on the bike, teaching him how to ride a bike, and then you get that whole scene where with Alex and his mother. He goes, "Well, what about your son? What about my son?" He goes, "This is all I know is fighting. This is all I can do. This is the best I can be." and,
I was like,
and I'm
okay,
like,
Alex. All right.
I'm like, let's take it down and knock it.
Reel,
You
reel
know,
it in, man.
right? You don't have to be so emotional, buddy. It'll be okay.
It's only been 5 minutes, man. This,
We don't need to get into the fields yet. We don't. We
yeah.
don't. We're good, man. We're good. You know. But and then of course his mom's like, well, your shoulder's messed up. You have these screws that's in your shoulder that can actually knock it out. That's actually what caused you to go out of the competition. He goes, nah, it's good. My shoulder is fine. And I don't know what she says. I'm not gonna go for verbatim, but basically she's saying your shoulder's being held up with duct tape and a couple of screws, basically. Plastic. That's what it is.
Yeah. And then she was like, oh, and then you'll be paralyzed. I'm like, way to have faith in your son, lady. Man, I'm pretty
Well,
sure
he
he's not
has.
that bad.
Well, now we know why he has faith in his son with the bike. Parenting from her.
I get faith in my mother. I have faith in my son. Go.
Right. Go. But I do like the introduction of once we get into the introduction of Tommy though, with Tommy Lee. I like him in his karate dojo when we first get introduced into his character because you actually feel for him and you want to root for him. And he's explained to the kids that he's teaching, you're not supposed to be using martial arts outside of this dojo unless you're actually being attacked. And you see the two kids going at it. And he's like, he started it. He started it. And it doesn't matter. You're his brother. You're his brother. You're brothers in this dojo. You will not use karate to go against each other in this dojo. And then even get this, congratulations on the whenever it has the acceptance letter. Congratulations is actually misspelled.
Is it?
Yeah.
I missed that. They did not let that get away.
They really did. The congratulations aspect of it was actually misspelled in that letter.
That's a hard word for some people I know, but
Right.
come on, man.
Heck, even Mortal Kombat got that right.
Yeah, Mortal
The very
Kombat had
first
it
one.
down.
But yeah, that part right there alone and everything to me, they misspelled congratulations. Then of course Tommy is excited because he's been accepted into this thing where you have Korea versus the United States. This is him to get back into it again. Was a great motive for him, and you don't understand that motive until like later on as to why he wants to be in this thing so badly, because then it becomes a revenge plot versus being the best to me. Brandy says the main character from the from this also plays in Persons of Interest.
Persons of Interest. I haven't seen that one.
I've seen it and everything. It's actually pretty entertaining. But yeah, Alex, the actor who plays Alex, is actually on Persons of Interest.
Oh, okay.
But Tommy is one of those likable characters, though, if you think about it.
Yeah.
What about you, though? I mean, did you like him when you were
as also, I thought that scene was really funny when he's breaking up the kids, because kids fighting is always funny to me. I don't know why. I'm an awful person, I guess. But, just when he's like, hey, can we be best friends? Yeah, let's do it. I'm like, he's such a nice guy. I already love him. I'm Team Tommy all the way.
right? It's like I want to vote for him for president. Team
Yeah,
Tommy all the way, man.
you told
Because
me.
and then he gets this acceptance letter. He's all excited. And then we go into the whole entire deal where now it doesn't go into all the other characters. It goes in straight from those two. Because
Mm,
now you know that this thing is going to be centered around Alex and Tommy and everything. Because they wind up becoming roommates towards the middle of this movie, though, too, where they become like brothers, which is,
yeah,
I thought the chemistry with that was really good and solid, to be
yeah,
honest with you, on that part. where they can actually relate to each other on some type of an emotional level.
yeah,
So I thought that was really good. But then you see the competition at the very beginning when they're trying out to figure out who's going to wind up going into Korea to fight everything. And then you see James Earl Jones there. You see the other assistant manager that's going to be sponsoring them. And then you see douchebag guy from Florida. You wind up uh, Travis. You wind up seeing Travis there with his boombox and everything with his country music. And then, he's a hot tempered guy, very on the edge, where you don't even want this guy even in a 10-foot radius of your kids, or for that matter, in a karate competition.
yeah.
But James Earl Jones says, that's okay. There's some fight in him. I want him.
He's a fighter. And I was
He's a
like, yeah,
fighter.
I saw that coming. This guy, oh, he's the jerk. He's going to be the jerk on the team. This,
Right.
it has to happen.
Exactly. You always have to have that one douchebag on the team. It might as well be him. And then, of course, you wind up seeing how much of a dirty fighter he actually is when you come into it and everything. I'm like, yeah, this guy is not somebody that I would want on the team, especially whenever the points and stuff like that with the United States versus Korea. That's not good because it's
Yeah.
not represented by one person. It's a team as a whole that winds up being conducted in the point statue. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, do I really want him on my team?
Like,
But yeah,
I get it from an athletic aspect. Like, you want someone on the team that, isn't afraid to throw a punch, throw a kick. You want someone that's real mean in a physical sport like that. But also, if he's going to be a detriment to the team, like, oh, you're going to do cheap shots, that's going to cost us points. Like, they're like, them picking Travis didn't necessarily make sense realistically, but it's a movie, so like I ignored that.
exactly. Him picking Travis was a big mistake, to be honest with you. He's a loose cannon who thinks he's better than everybody else. And also, too, we wind up seeing how he loses against one of the other guys that's actually on the team when they're trying out. And he's like, you see that? You see that? He sucker punched me. Da 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 da. And I'm like, dude, you're not helping things in your situation. And that was like the last person that I would actually have on my team. And not only that, but he's also a very racist character once we get into the whole entire thing.
I, I, I was like, oh, I hope this doesn't last long. I hope this is the only scene where he's racist. Nope, we're gonna.
No, even in the bar, he's very racist.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is gonna be very heavy-handed. I'm gonna have to try to deal with that.
Exactly, because if I was an executive doing this script, I'm like, especially in 2021, I'm like, you can't really have this line right here, even though the Chinese guy is also calling himself yellow and making fun of his own self. Yeah, you might want to get rid of that. And then
Yeah.
Travis saying it to him, yeah, get rid of that too.
Yeah, make him a jerk, make him, scumbag, but you have the power to write the movies any way you want. That's an aspect you don't need. That just because it feels like you're using it to entertain
rather than to teach a lesson.
Yeah.
And then, what do you think of the Buddhist though? I definitely liked Virgil. Virgil's actually one of my other favorite characters in this film. He has more of a zen, more of a peaceful side to him.
I really liked Virgil. I thought he was for a side character, he was very charismatic and he was funny. He was different. He was the exact opposite of Travis, and I liked that they were roommates and I wish the movie focused on them a bit more,
Me too.
on that relationship. Kind of, Travis calms down a bit because he's with Virgil, and maybe Virgil, I don't know, toughens up a bit more. Not that he needed to be tougher,
No,
but
but I feel like if you're roommating with someone that has that zen, where that calmness, maybe Travis would be a little bit more open minded to have that zen too. If you would actually show the implications of him being in that room with them,
mm-hmm.
because we saw plenty of that with Tommy Lee and Alex.
Yeah.
But it doesn't focus on the other team members, which I wish they would have done that. Because then you could see the back and forth, the transformation of Travis, if they were going to actually do a transformation of Travis. But they don't. He doesn't change in this movie until like the very end of this film, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. When they do that, I'm just like, oh, he's still racist, right? That never. Oh,
Well, and get this. I noticed in the background, I'm like, okay, when they're changing out the medals, I'm like, okay, so it shows Tommy Lee, it shows that emotional scene. We're gonna get to that a little bit later, and then it shows, then of course it shows Alex getting respect, but they don't show Travis. But you see in the background that he actually puts the hat on the other North Korea fighter, the cowboy hat, to signify that he's no longer racist. His character's actually redeemed now. I'm like, what?
You want to cure racism? Just give your cowboy hat to someone else, no longer a racist.
Right? Like a rhinestone cowboy. But yeah.
We're all cowboys.
Right. But still, I mean, that particular scene was like, you needed to have a little bit more with it, in my opinion, when it comes down to that. But no, and then of course, whenever the training whenever they start training and everything, and then even the sponsor's like, "Are you sure you want Travis? Are you really sure you want him?" Because yeah, he's a fighter. He's gonna be great. Like, okay, and then I guess we'll have him. And then, of course, then you find out why Tommy Lee is even joining in this Best of the Best competition, and it's not exactly for the right reasons. He wants revenge on the guy that winds up killing his brother whenever he was at a certain age in the same kind of tournament that he is, and everything. And I like the motivation with that. I felt like they actually brought that motivation out, and then also too, showing North Korea about the training exercises, the things that they do over there compared to what we do in the United States, showing the expert level of training, them doing it year round. I thought that was really interesting, showing the cultural side of it. But what do you think about the two sides of the coin when you look at the United States, the way we were training, and then versus the way that North Korea was training? And Dahan, I felt like, was a dangerous character because of the way they set him up.
Yeah. Was it North Korea or South Korea?
It was Korea. It was one of the Koreas. I don't know.
I think I remember seeing the flag that it had the white background. I think that one is South Korea.
Okay, so it was South Korea. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the South Korean team looked really cool. I liked their training montage a lot better than the American one. I thought they were just like, when they were chopping at the trees, I'm like, oh, these dudes are hardcore in the snow. I would need a coat and everything. I'll be too cold. And I liked that motivation with Tommy Lee and his brother being killed. I did think it was weird that beforehand you didn't know. It seemed like he was just really excited about the tournament. Like, oh yeah, I have a cool opportunity. But when you learn about that, it turns out he's really scared. So I thought we would at least see that fear when he got the acceptance letter. And he was like,
right.
I really don't want to face this guy because I know that's who I'm going up against, who we're going to
go up against. I think also, too, when James Earl Jones shows him the footage of South Korea on their training montage and the training levels, and then knowing that he has to go after Dahan, that's when you see him actually scared, though. Because I think in the acceptance letter, it doesn't explain who he's going up against. But once you saw that video footage of the montage, that's when he goes into the whole fear thing. At first, he's excited. Then all of a sudden, it's like going against your whole high school bully that used to bully you. It's like, oh, shit.
Oh no.
I'm gonna die.
I, I'm not gonna lie though, when it announced who he was fighting and he started having that flashback scene of his brother dying,
Mhm.
I felt like a jerk, but I could not stop laughing at that because it just starts just and then it just shows him as a kid just licking an ice cream cone, and I'm like, what is happening? And
And get this, it's actually foreshadowed later on with
yeah,
the two. And I'm thinking to
was,
myself like this, right? I'm like, so you came back to on the team so you could have ice cream?
yeah. Uh, it's just every time it showed the flashback of even as his brother's being murdered, I'm supposed to be like horrified, but I keep thinking of him just licking that ice cream in slow motion with really tense music.
And then when his brother dies, there's that slow mo of the ice cream falling.
Yeah, the ice cream fell. No.
And then you have the same thing that happens when you have that old 80s music playing at the gas station when Tommy Lee is off the team and he decides to come back after where the brother winds up giving his brother his ice cream cone because his brother dropped his ice cream cone. That reminded Tommy of the time when he dropped his ice cream cone.
I wish my brother was there to give me an ice cream, and you know what? That got me completely over my fear of my brother's death. I'm gonna go back and join the team. There was a lot of fast character development in this movie.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, you got over that trauma quick, bro."
exactly. I wish life was like that, you know?
Yeah, I wish I could just look at some kids eating ice cream and be like, you know what? Maybe all those times I was bullied and beaten up in high school,
Maybe
it's
all I
okay.
needed was an ice cream cone.
All I needed was a brother to give me an ice cream cone. Good for
That's
you,
all I
kid.
needed in my life was just an ice cream cone. And
Yeah.
I'll be good to go. But, and then also, too, there's also the other setup where James Earl Jones gets the other teacher, karate teacher involved and everything. And then Travis is like, and she's like, any questions? Yeah. Can I have your number? I'm like, dude, bruh.
I'm like, oh, Travis, we know. I know you're a jerk. Like, when's there gonna be a scene where someone beats up Travis? Like, when's that? Is that coming up yet?
Right. And then also, too, then there's also the bar scene that we mentioned where they're actually taking some time off with the bar. And I know that we're skipping around or whatever, but I don't care. This is just fun 80s style movie. I'm just here to have a good time. But
We're here for a good time.
exactly. But, we have that 80s style bar fight. You have Alex on the phone calling, checking on his son who can't ride a bike. And then he goes, how's my son doing? Hey, Ma, how's my son? And then she's like, oh, he's doing all right. Then what that happens, then you see Travis dancing around with this girl. And my favorite thing is how the Buddhist character comes in to this though, and how he picks up the girl. He accidentally spills something on her shirt. He goes, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. What spilled on you?" And then she says it was something honey, blaze, or fire, or something like that. And he goes, "Oh my god, it should have been a whole lot hotter. I'm gonna have to complain to the bartender because it's not hot enough." And then my face is just dropped because
I
I'm
was like,
like,
oh, he's that weird guy.
right. But even the characters are like that too, though. They're like, he just didn't do what I think he did he? Then that line just works, and he winds up getting with her.
Yeah, I was just playing. I was like, that was smooth. That was
Yeah,
pretty
Virgil
smooth.
just has a smoothness to him where he just
Mm.
pulls that off. If Feminist was watching this and like, did he just do what I think he just did? I'm not gonna have to have that in this film. But for the 80s it worked. But I liked how the characters have that same jaw-dropping thing where like we did, and it works. And then you have Travis who's just dancing with this other guy, causing problems in the bar. Then that winds up being a bar fight. And then Tommy Lee is also trying to trying to walk away. Then he does this kung fu kick where he winds up taking the cigarette ash out of this one person's lips. I'm like, okay, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, this is gonna entice the fight. Okay, we'll go with it.
If I was smoking a cigarette trying to fight a dude and the dude just like kicks the cigarette out of my mouth, I'm not fighting him.
Or
I'm
just
like,
the ash.
I'm like,
You know.
oh, you win. Oh, yeah, my bad. Here, take whatever you want. Leave me alone.
Exactly. And then we have James Earl Jones who just comes in, watches the whole thing, and then the place is trashed at that point. And then James Earl Jones is like, okay, enough. And then let's go.
This fight is over.
And then I find it funny that cops don't even show up.
No consequences from completely destroying the bar.
Right?
People were thrown through so much glass. All the tables were broken. I'm like, okay, one of them's going to jail. That's one of the first conflicts. Nope.
Destruction of property. Because the bathroom door got demolished. The pinball machine is broke. The bar is all gone. Even where the boots are and everything, with those little sticks that they have or whatever. I don't know what they are, but that little decoration is demolished because they slide somebody's head through it. And then the drawing line of James Earl Jones of someone getting thrown out of the bar through the window. That was it. That was like the final straw.
I was like, all right, let's wrap this up. No matter how ridiculous it is, though, bar fight scenes, always entertaining. Can't get enough of them. Seriously, that's on my bucket list. Not to be in a bar fight, but just to be present for a bar fight. Just to watch, like, oh, this is awesome.
But it'd be funny though. It's one of those bar fights. It's not as what you thought it was going to be. It was like worst bar fight ever. 1 star.
It was boring. Only 4 people got involved. Nothing got broken.
Amateurs. I'm going to another bar.
But at that point, it would be your job to escalate it. Like, oh, nothing's been broken yet. Take the bottle. There we go.
Exactly. But then, we wind up also seeing some other stuff happens with where we wind up seeing Kozo cuts Alex from the team when he breaks the rigid training to visit his son. That let's just talk about this because I know we talked about it before the show, but I'll let you go on in and talk about this scene.
Okay, so Alex, he gets a phone call saying that his son was hit by a car. His son getting hit by a car is not funny. I'm not laughing about his son getting hit by a car, I promise. His son's leg's broken and he's in a coma. So understandably, he's like, I gotta go home and see my son because he's in a coma. So he goes to Coach Kuzo and he's like, hey, Coach, I gotta go. My son's in a coma. And the coach is going to tell him, get your priorities straight. And when I first heard that, I was like, what? Get your priorities straight? That wanting to see your son who's in a coma is as straight as your priorities can get. What you mean? He's like, no, you made a commitment to this team and you must be here for this team. I'm like, his son might die. What are you talking about? It was another one of those things where just a line is thrown in there that it's just meant to create drama and conflict for conflict's sake. And I'm like, that makes no sense. No normal person would be like, no, you can't see your son who just got put in a coma. You need to go do karate. Like, I laughed about it for like 10 minutes after.
I did too, to be honest with you, but I laughed more at the fact that his son's still riding that stupid bike and he's so clumsy that I'm sorry, but if I was away, I would not let my son ride that bike, especially about how bad he was shaking from the very beginning of it. Like, He does not have it, dude. He doesn't
That
have
looks
it.
suspect, dude. I'm gonna have grandma watch you while I'm gone.
Right.
Right
Well, she didn't do such a good job either, but she didn't watch him. But I do agree with you that was supposed to be that's his priority. That's his son. Winning a tournament to become the best of over the United States and everything else is not that important. Your son is your blood, flesh and blood. He's trying to make it to his son because you don't know, he doesn't know the outcome or anything like that. But James Earl Jones is like, no, this tournament means everything to me more than it means to you.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? You're gonna go on ahead and do this no matter what. Well, Alex is like, peace, I'm out. And then at that point, too, as that's going on, you have two divisions going on here. You have Alex leaving, then you have Tommy Lee, who then finds out later, basically the other female instructor coach finds out why James Earl Jones sets him up with Dahan and everything, because I set him up because I know he's the only one that can defeat him. And he's the only one that is the best to do it. And then, he makes Virgil stand up, do the whole punching bag thing with the, to where he kicks it. And it makes Tommy kicked that bag so hard that it made Virgil's heart stop, basically. And then Virgil,
no holding back.
I'm gonna let you explain this one because this actually made me laugh though too.
Oh, yeah. So the James Earl Jones thing.
Yeah.
So I keep quoting him because for some reason he draws out his lines. Like he'll whatever word he ends a sentence with, it goes on for about a minute. He's like, I am your coach, and I'm the one who's going to be leading this team. And I'm like, James, what are you doing? And like, James Earl Jones is a great actor. So I'm like, he's not doing this on purpose. The director must be telling everyone to lay it on a bit heavier because it was distracting to me. Anytime he talked, he's like, don't hold back.
But yeah, it was like he's trying to find his inner Mufasa before the 90s. And also, too, he probably just got, well, it'll be a year later whenever he goes and does Coming to America, I think. But I could just see that, though, where he's trying to find his inner James Earl Jones voice for Coming to America and for Mufasa. And it's just conflicting with each other.
I gotta get some practice in. Hold on.
Which role am I doing?
We were talking about Tommy Lee
Right.
and how he's leaving the team because he's too afraid to face Dahan. That's where I thought the other coach was going to come into play,
right.
Coach Wade, because she came in like, it's more than just a physical game. We also have to train our fighters to be mentally strong. So I'm like, we got to do yoga and meditation. So like all mental health aspect stuff where I'm like, okay, that's very important because a few of these guys have some trauma to get over. And I was thinking like, oh, she's going to have like a one-on-one talk with Tommy, with Alex, with the coach even. But she serves no purpose other than like one or two yoga scenes. And I'm like, wait, so what's the point of all these mental health talks if you're not even going to do it and utilize it in the movie?
I felt like her character was very underutilized, to be honest with you. And you can tell she was there for sex appeal versus being someone that was going to help you through anything.
Like when she's introduced, it starts by showing her legs.
Yeah.
And then the whole time she's showing them karate, her hair is down. And I'm like, no, don't women usually tie that up? Don't let it get in the way? Like, come on, man.
I went to karate class. The first thing that they tell you to do is not to wear your hair down. So that way, if you're doing any kind of martial arts, your hair is not going to get in the way of someone doing a karate move on an accident during tournaments and stuff like that, or when you're sparring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally out of place because you can tell that they're doing it for sexual purposes only to make her have more of a sex appeal in this film versus giving her any kind of acting credibility to anything that she's doing.
80s movie.
Yeah. Yep. Anything through 80s and 90s, you always had a blonde woman with long legs, skinny, and that was it. That was the bill for 80s, all the way from the 80s to 90s. Basically.
And that's your character.
Right.
You
Kelly Bundy was the perfect example of that. But, though, I really wish that they would have actually utilized her a lot better than what they did.
Yeah.
Because she was there for a reason, but she doesn't even step in to overrule James Earl Jones, except for one time when she discovers the tape. She tries to tell him not to let Tommy fight the Han or anything like that. And then James Earl Jones pretty much, just shuts her down on it. And then she just shrugs her shoulder, walks off, and that's it. And she doesn't even play a major key factor in the tournament either.
Mm-mm.
She's not even there. So, you wasted an actress and you also underutilized her.
Yep. I was like, okay, well, there could have been, it would have made sense also because when I mentioned earlier about how characters developed quickly, like that could have been a way where the character development made sense. Like, oh, how did Tommy get over the trauma, or is he at least ready? How did he at least get to himself to a point where he's prepared to face the source of his trauma? I was like, oh, right. He had this nice scene with Coach Wade where they talk about their feelings, or he talk about what he's afraid of. Like, okay, that would have worked. But no, we get him watching two little boys eating ice cream
on his motorcycle.
On his
motorcycle. At the gas station.
A motorcycle. Sorry, that's another thing that bugged me. Where did he get the motorcycle? Like, I thought they were in a different place across the country. That's not their home. Where'd the motorcycle come from?
He must have rented it or something. It was just
there.
I
need a getaway vehicle motorcycle.
You know what? I think that they needed a sponsor for this movie, so they just decided to put the motorcycle there. Because I was thinking this the whole time, like, the motorcycle just pops up out of nowhere. So I'm thinking to myself, you needed a sponsor, didn't you? Yeah, so you got Yamaha or Ninja motorcycle, Kawasaki, to go and spend some money so you can make Tommy ride around on top of a mountain to this one gasoline station just happens to have. And then I like how
the logo real quick.
I like how they show the speedometer and how fast he's actually going. Remember the safety guidelines when Alex's kid didn't even have a helmet on, for crying out loud. But then again, Tommy didn't even have a helmet on this one either. It just showed sunshades, going up the mountains, escaping everything, seeing the kids, and the kids drop drops their ice cream. The brother picks it up, and then gives him his ice cream and everything. And then they get in the car and they drive off. And he's like, I know what I need to do. I need to get my ass back to the tournament. That's where I need to go. Then he shows up before it's even time for them to go off anywhere. I'm like, how far were you?
Yeah, I was just like, that was a long trip. He must I'm riding this bike back to Fresno.
I'm going to go to the 7-Eleven, get me a Frappy.
Frappy, and I'm just going to rev it.
But still, he shows up. They go. Then, of course, Alex is begging for them to take him back and everything. This is after his son wakes up from the coma. And, you feel for the guy on an emotional level. But he brought the tears, though. Like worse than the first half of the film whenever his son's doing the bicycle riding.
When he was begging, I felt bad because there was a lot of vulnerable moments in this movie, which I do appreciate. That this was a lot of masculine characters showing a lot of vulnerability. I liked that aspect, but it's just they were going ham on it. It was a bit too much. So when he was begging, he was like, "You want me to beg? I'll beg. I need this." And I'm like, reel it in. Hold on, ease it back a bit. Like, first off, you should be more angry than anything. Like, hey, thanks for checking and asking if my son's okay. Yeah, he was in a coma. He's okay now. Like, that's the emotion I was expecting. Like, no, don't go begging to the guy. who said you can't see your kid who's in a coma, and just say like, hey, I'm back now. I'm there's plenty of time. I'm here. Like,
Heck, even Mickey from Rocky had more heart than James
yeah,
Earl Jones did. And that's in the 70s when that film was made. But no, James Earl Jones only cares about the tournament and making this guy big like he's cheating on him with the
yeah.
tournament.
Like if he was going off to do like a photo shoot so he can be famous, like, okay, yeah, that would be a reason. Like, no, get off, you're off the team. You don't have your priorities straight. But his kid almost died. That it like it would have made more sense if he was like, you don't have a lot of time until we leave for South Korea, but it's your son. Yeah, you got to go. Like that would have been better. And then the conflict would have been like, oh, racing to get back. But
Right.
yeah, it was.
And then finally we get over to South Korea. And there is a lot of dirty fighting between South Korea and everything too, because they know I like how they give files on the South Korea team. But I'm thinking to myself, South Korea probably has files on you guys too. And knows your strengths, your weaknesses, and they're gonna attack at your weakest point, which is what happened to Alex with his shoulder.
Yeah.
And everything. And I loved how they taped up his arm and everything. And he's fighting one-handed, trying to hold this guy for 30 seconds.
I really liked that part too. That was when he was getting his shoulder. Yeah. He kept telling Tommy to pop it back in.
Pop it back in.
Like that was the only time where I didn't think he was overacting. Because I playing sports, I've seen people dislocate their shoulders and then like do stuff like that, like put it back, just pop it back in. I want to get back. And so I was like, oh yeah, I've definitely seen people act like that before. It reminded me a lot of Karate Kid. I think they kind of ripped it off from Karate Kid. They ripped off Rocky and Karate Kid in this movie, so I'm like, oh, that's two movies too many to get material from. But I thought it was funny. He's like, you just need to hold him for 30 seconds. And he's like, I got it. And then he beats the guy in 5. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess the one-handed is not an issue at all.
No, not at all. And 30 seconds only seemed like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It was like...
Just hold him for 5 seconds. Oh, okay. We won.
And, it would be. Here's the thing, though, too. You said about at least we didn't see James Earl Jones do like a Karate Kid type of thing with like Miyagi. He goes, okay, you want to be in fight, and claps his hands.
I'll put your shoulder back.
Here, I'll put some of that lotion on, like Miyagi does.
Yeah,
but no, but still, I mean. There's aspects of that, of the Karate Kid and stuff like that they do rip off and stuff. And then, of course, the 5-second fight scene with the shoulder being popped back in place, him holding him in for 5 seconds. Then you also see Travis fight this other South Korean and everything, and it's not a fair fight at all between them two because they're both dirty fighters. So you pick a racist, then you also pick a dirty fighter from the South Koreas that are kind of like the same. In a sense, but then you get the fight that we've been waiting for, which is Dahan versus Tommy Lee. But also, too, there's also the other thing for Virgil that I really liked. I liked that fight. There was a lot of heart in that fight between the both fighters from South Korea and also, too, with Virgil. Mm-hmm. But then you wind up having the Tommy Lee fight and, Dahan. And that fight was brutal.
That had some heart into it. That was definitely the best fight that had the most build up to it. And I feel like who was the other fighter? His name was Sonny.
Yeah, Sonny.
I was like, oh, Sonny's there. He lost.
Too bad.
it was weird how they built it up. I thought it was going to be a back and forth type of thing.
Right.
I thought it was like, oh, Virgil's going to win his fight. Sonny's going to lose his. Travis is going to lose his fight, maybe win his, but Alex will lose his fight because he's injured. Or I thought it was going to be a back and forth type of thing, but it was just like, nope. The 3 side characters, they just lose, and then Alex will be the first winner. And yeah, Tommy Lee and Dahan though, that had the most build up, that had the most emotion brought into it. I didn't understand the rules at all for the
Okay,
tournament.
so basically, the way the rules are, okay, I've been in karate competitions before. So basically, in the United States, you're only, let's say for instance, you're only going up against one person. So therefore, you would get points for just for fighting that one person. Those points would actually go to you because you're only one person. Well, in this one, in the South Korea tournament, since you're a team, it doesn't go individually. It counts as one whole. So therefore, any time that they would lose a fight, they would stay the same. So therefore, that's why they were actually losing against the South Koreans because it wasn't going towards an individual fighter; it was going through for the whole team.
Yeah,
which
but
sucked.
Did they only get points for specific hits?
Yeah,
Maybe
for specific hits.
Okay, because there were a lot of times where I'm like, he got hit in the face 5 times. That's like that's 5 points. It's like 1 point for the United States. I'm like, he busted
like that.
1 point.
Like this is rigged. That would have been 5 points. But
yeah.
but
I was like, oh.
In the United States, you're not allowed to even hit somebody in the face.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no. And you can't go for the groin, which the South Korean got in trouble for hitting somebody in the groin and everything too. So you're not allowed to do that. Any type of dirty fighting, no. But you get points. You get 1 point, I think, for the side. I forgot how it's worked, but I remember specifically in tournaments that I went to that each body part represented a point and everything. But I thought that it was different to actually see them judge it based off of one group of people versus having it individually.
Yeah.
It makes it that more challenging to try and get that medal and that respect that you would want from South Korea and also from the United States. So I thought that was really challenging for that part. But it reminded me of the days that I went to karate tournaments, especially the tryouts and stuff like that. Because I did have the karate gear where it was like the rubber thing like they had and all that stuff. So I actually did some sparring before. I've been in boxing and stuff like that. But, it just brought me back to those days when watching this film. But it also has a little bit of more of a reality check and a little bit with the not with the point scale, but just as someone that's competing in competitions.
Yeah.
And how much it means to someone that competes in competitions like Alex. So I was able to relate to Alex on that aspect because if that's all you know, that's all your life is, that's all it's going to be built around and everything in a sense. But, but Dahan, with that fight, pretty much Tommy Lee had a chance to finish him off. And I liked how South Korea's like, and then James Earl Jones is like, finish him. I'm like, this is Mortal Kombat? Like, are we gonna get like a vitality from this or what? Is Tommy Lee gonna reach into him, reach into his and get his heart or what? But he's over there, he's dazed, he's about to go down, and then he doesn't finish him. That's why they lost the fight because he was supposed to be to the death, and because he didn't finish him, that's why they lost. The United States lost against South Korea. But I liked how all these other guys are bloodied up. South Korea is really bloodied up, really busted up from the fights that they had. And then you have Dahan, who just looks over at Tommy, and he limps himself over there. Poor guy. He's just over there limping.
Practically dead. Both eyes are gone.
Right? And then comes the most this part always brings tears to my eyes now that I watched it for the third time and still does it. But it says to save a life in defeat is to earn victory and honor within. Your brother too was a great fighter. I deeply regret your loss, and I offer myself as your brother. And I'm like, I just lost it because now it no longer goes with a revenge story plot line for Tommy. It's a misunderstanding in a sense that, hey, look, I can't take back what I did to your brother. It was a fight to the death. I am sorry for this happen, but let me put myself and sacrifice myself as your brother and put myself in your shoes. And I want to be your brother, and hands him the medal.
That was by far the best line in the movie. As soon as he's like, I offer myself as your brother, like my eyes started quivering. I was like, don't cry. Don't cry. Because yeah, that ending, that was a good end. I liked how the tournament ended, because they assumed that Tommy was gonna murder the dude, because he was practically dead.
He was there. He was on right.
He was on death's door, and they're like, oh, so they're like, no, don't kill him, because they thought that's what he wanted to do. But just having him stand there and just basically giving up the tournament, just winning in a different way. Like, no, I don't need to kill you. I'm going to stop the cycle here.
Right.
I thought that was really powerful. I was like, yeah, I'm okay with him not winning.
Right. And he showed mercy to somebody that killed his brother. And they both have respect. It's kind of like the Karate Kid in a sense, where Johnny and Daniel have a little bit of respect for each other, supposedly in the at the end of the Karate Kid movie, but not so much in the Cobra Kai series later on. But when Johnny just gives him that little nod and that little respect, and let's just forget about the Cobra Kai series for a while. Let's just pretend that the Cobra Kai doesn't exist, and then all we have is just the 3 Karate Kid movies that we have with Daniel. And you have that little bit of respect, and that's what it reminded me of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just thought that was really powerful. Like, this dude went in like enemy, like, this guy murdered my brother, and then by the end of it, they're brothers symbolically. Right. I was like, that was nice. That was a nice conclusion. A nice way to finish that story for Tommy Lee. Like,
I agree.
I like that. It made my eyes tear up. Best writing, just in that
area. But it had that Furious 7 kind of vibe with Paul Walker. And of course, I cry every single time I see that scene with Paul Walker, and now I cry every single time when I see Tommy Lee and Dahan and everything. But like I mentioned before with Travis, all you see is the cowboy hat at the very end.
Is he what was his lesson? Did he learn a lesson at all? No. He gave his cowboy hat to someone from South Korea. He must not be racist anymore. That's
right. It's like a symbol of peace, I guess. But I like how Dahan is like the leader of this group, and then they see what Dahan did, and now they follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, get the medals over the United States. Everything, and see them worthy enough to actually have it. So that was a beautiful moment, to be honest.
Yeah. That, the whole tournament though was confusing for me. So it's between the US and South Korea.
Right.
The whole time I was thinking, like, are they going to fight any other country? Because it was saying, like, South Korea, they're the reigning champions. They haven't lost in 10 years. I'm like, well, it makes sense they haven't lost in 10 years. It seems like they only have to fight the United States. Because even in the flashback, they just fought. Like, I thought it was going to be like a build-up, like, oh, United States. Like, they assume they're going to fight South Korea because they're the best. But, they have to start by fighting UK and then China.
So you were going in like a Street Fighter kind of vibe, where they have to go through other states to actually get to South Korea.
Yeah, basically. I was thinking, like, little build up to show like both sides, like, because they were saying that South Korea is this ruthless, unbeatable team, but we don't see them. We just see them training. Like, anyone can look tough training, but like if they showed a montage of South Korea just destroying other countries, then that would have built them up as like the menacing antagonist team, and also it would have made more sense, like, oh, they're the best in the world because they're literally beating everyone else in the world. But if they're just fighting
the United States, because get this, even when Tommy Lee's brother dies by Dahan, they're in the United States, I think. So yeah. South Korea versus the United States. But I'm also thinking, how long have these tournaments have been going on? Mm-hmm. Because they say they are the best, so we have to just assume that they went through other tournaments and everything. Maybe it's like the Olympics. Maybe that happens every once 5 years, and they choose which country they want to go after, and that's who they fight.
Or maybe they're the only two teams in the Olympics with the only two countries in the Olympics
That
with
have
a
beef with
karate
each other,
team.
so they just beat each other up.
It's just like, well,
I
it's
don't know.
just us two. So
Right. But they do have a sequel.
I did see that there's a sequel, but real quick, I was remembering that flashback scene with Tommy Lee's brother.
Okay.
Did it look like they were fighting in a high school gym?
Yeah. It looked like they were.
That's kind of disrespectful. It's like, oh, yeah, you're the U.S. national team. You're fighting for the glory of America. Go in that high school gym.
And beat the snot out of Tommy Lee's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a high school gym. It wasn't like a big tournament thing or anything like that. They were young and everything too. They weren't like grown men like Tommy Lee and them. So this beef that Tommy Lee has was rising up ever since he was like 8-10 years old, seeing his brother die.
Yeah.
And everything. But yeah, it's kind of weird to see that in a high school gym. Because that's like basically watching the training montage of the United States training.
Yeah.
Everything. It just doesn't fit right.
I was like, oh, no wonder we keep losing to South Korea. We don't even just a high school gym for our national athletes.
Right. It doesn't make sense, but it's the 80s, so that's the excuse I'm giving. That's the excuse I'm giving it.
That's what I chalked up a lot of issues. I'm like, there's the 80s.
Especially, I know that we didn't tackle this, but especially in the Chinese restaurant or the restaurant with Tommy Lee, and even though Tommy Lee's making fun of himself because he is Chinese or Asian, Travis called him yellow, and he goes, "Yeah, of course I'm yellow. I am who I am." And I'm like, that's not, dude. I said, I understand what you're trying to do, and then he's also everybody's like trying to ease off of him and like, dude, and he's like, it's okay. Tommy Lee's like, no, it's okay. Let him keep on going. But I think this is me speculating now a little bit, but I think it's just Tommy Lee basically just letting him show his arrogance to him, to show how arrogant he actually is. But I don't know.
Yeah, it was at that moment where I was like, okay, this is the scene where Travis is going on that racist rant. I'm like, all right, this is the scene where everybody jumps in, or at least Tommy Lee
Alex.
like, yeah, or Alex, or like someone steps in and is like, hey, let's go square up real quick in the ring. Like that's what I thought was gonna happen. Like Tommy Lee's like, all right, you think I'm a punk that you're just gonna be really racist to? Let's settle this. And Tommy Lee was gonna beat him. Like that's where I assumed the beginning of Travis's character development was gonna play out, but it didn't. It was just like he had that scene, and then everyone was cool with each other the next scene, and by the end of the movie, Travis is still the same racist guy, but less racist because he gave his cowboy hat. Right.
Let's not forget about that. That's the most important.
That's important. Remember, he's only a little bit racist now.
He's not 100% racist. He's only 90%. He's like 90.
Cowboy, give me a cowboy hat to someone, knocks you down a good chunk.
Or you just buy them ice cream. And they
or buy them ice cream. Give them some ice cream.
Right. But anyways, that's going to do it for our review for Best of the Best. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, Alex, for taking the time out of your evening to review this film. I know that you've been busy on your YouTube channel and everything. And where can everybody reach you at?
You all can reach me at A-Town Reviews on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. Just type in at ATownAlex3. I'm also on Twitter, also ATownAlex_3. So yeah, go ahead and follow me. Let's chat. Let's talk about movies. And thank you once again, John, for having me.
You're welcome.
An amazing experience. I have so much fun doing this. I'm looking forward to the next time.
I'm glad, man. You're always welcome on the show. If you have a movie review that you want to do, pick it out and we'll do it.
Sounds good.
Because here's the thing. I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what? I want my guests to pick the movie so I can be surprised by the movie that they do. So that way I can review it with them and do it that way versus me picking out the movie sometimes. because I'm like, you know what? They're my guest. I want them to choose it and everything. It's like being in somebody else's house. They're welcome to the bathroom, to anything else and stuff like that. So, I like for my guests to pick out the movie sometimes. So it's always fun having you on. It's always a blast. I appreciate you and what you do at your YouTube channel and everything. You do a great job over there. So you're very welcome. And of course, guys, if you want to, go ahead and follow me at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite on Facebook and on Instagram and on Pinterest underneath the same brand name. I did partner up with Two Blurred Girls podcast with Tamara and Tamika. We're doing a charity event for St. Jude's for kids who have cancer with Cincy's. So go on ahead, click the link below this video, and go on ahead, get yourself some Cincy's and stuff like that. 25% of it goes towards people who have cancer, who have kids who have cancer, and stuff like that. I'm a big advocate for whenever it comes down to anyone that has cancer. So go on ahead, donate to St. Jude's. Don't worry about donating to my channel or anything like that. For all the way up until the end of the month, we're going to be doing this. So go on ahead, show some love to the St. Jude's Hospital, Children's Hospital. Go on ahead and do that. Also, too, don't forget to hit the like button, smash that share button, and also comment below if you like Best of the Best. If you didn't like Best of the Best, that's okay, too. All movies are subjective, and also, too, not every movie is going to be for everybody. And also, do us a favor, go over to Good Pods right now and rate us on Good Pods, which is a podcast app for people that love listening to podcasts and also people who do podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. Even if it's not a 5-star rating, give us a 4-star rating. But five would actually do. But tell us what you think about Movie Lovers Unite. Tell us where we can improve in. I'm always interested in knowing what we can improve in. Then, of course, you guys can go in and get an audio-only podcast episode where you guys get your podcast from. And then, of course, you can follow me on Movie Lovers Unite on Twitter. And then you can email me at movieloversunite@gmail.com. And those are all the places they can reach me at. Tomorrow night, I'm actually going to have independent comic book writer Quentin Bennett on. We're going to be talking about Marvel versus DC villains. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific Time. Then on Wednesday night, we actually have another guest coming in from It Is What It Is podcast, and we're going to be doing Demolition Man and everything. Charlie and I are going to be reviewing that movie. And that's going to be at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific Time with Vernon Kelly. And then on Thursday, we're doing our Dexter after show. This is actually our season 3 review that we're doing. We're doing these reviews all the way up until the new season of Dexter starts up. So if you're a fan of Dexter, it's actually called Dexter Morgan After Show. So go on ahead, check that out and everything. And matter of fact, it's called The Dark Passenger, a Dexter Morgan After Show. So that's what it's called. Our other 2 seasons that we reviewed is actually on our YouTube channel, so check that out. Then on Friday, we have some other stuff going on here at Movie Lovers Unite. We don't know yet. Just go ahead, check your calendars and everything, check your times. And that's everything that you need to know about Movie Lovers Unite. Always until next time, guys. And Alex, it's always a pleasure. And thanks again. And always until next time, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And bye-bye.